What's up? My name is Glue Boy. Welcome back. We got good old faction video. Keeping up my my good old 2 videos a week thing. Going pretty well. In light of this faction coming back soon, they're going to get a 9th edition codex. We're going to be talking about the Astra Militarum, or the Imperial Guard.
The commander of the Imperial Army is
Astra Militarum.
the Wall of Guns.
The Astra Militarum, or as I'm going to be calling them, the Imperial Guard. That's what I really learned them as, and Astra Militarum is a bit dumber. So, the Imperial Guard, kind of a simple faction, not going to lie. Their lore is just the concept of a standing infantry army of humans. Kind of it. They're also very, like, Starship Troopers-y. Any real, like, sci-fi that just has, like, fuck ton of soldiers, that's them. The Imperial Guard are nestled right into the universe alongside orcs, Tyranids, Necrons, Space Marines, demons, all that good stuff. And they, obviously, as like regular people, don't have a lot of these crazy like physical strength, mutation, psychic powers to make up for it. What they do have is sheer, unrelenting firepower, as tens of thousands of soldiers shooting down range, hundreds of artillery shells, like hundreds of drop ships flying by, dropping like paratroopers out behind your enemy lines, stuff like that. If you can't kill something through sheer strength, numbers will get it. As well, sheer tactics. Imperial Guard have to be real smart. There's a very like common misconception that a lot of like Imperial Guard tactics are throw yourself at the enemy till they fall. Through sheer numbers will take this win, but that's not really the case. You have to think real hard, do like legitimate military tactics, and really like think. Guard are an interesting bunch. I love Guard and lore and all that. I will never play them. They're the polar opposite of my boys, the Custodies. I like bringing as few models to my game store as possible. I can't imagine bringing my entire briefcase of just troops. As well, you got a bunch of fun, cool, unique stuff you're bringing to the table with Guard. If you need just raw brute force, bring an Ogren. You want to disrupt the enemy leadership lines or take out some important targets, get your Rattling Snipers. They'll take care of it. Your fun Imperial Psychers, your tank commanders, or my absolute favorite, the Commissar. Commissars are attached to a regiment, and their job is to upkeep morale and loyalty, which a lot of the times is with that one famous Dawn of War quote, you serve in the front lines or you serve in the firing squad. Stuff like that. They will often just, you know, shoot one of their soldiers and like to make an example out of them because, yeah, you charge that Necron right now or I shoot you. You know, and there's a lot of really cool characters as well for Commissars. We got Ibram Gaunt, Caiaphas Cain, Severina Rain, Yarick, and the one and only Commissar Holt.
Ah, it's about time you got here. Thank you for your troops. I'll give you your orders in the morning, Holt.
Commissar Holt. I have heard the stories of your ineptitude and have seen the devastation it has brought. Your failure could cost the Imperium this world. You are no longer in charge. Choose your next words with exceptional care.
Maybe you had better take charge of the troops for a while, Commissar Holt. General Selenko here will be of great help to you, I'm sure.
One big thing to mention is the standard equipment for Guard, as your standard trooper gets 2 real key pieces of equipment. First, the humble lasgun. The lasgun, a laser rifle that never jams, near perfect accuracy, 0 recoil. Its magazine can be supercharged into a grenade if you really need it. A shot of the las bolt can like punch through concrete and will explode a guy's head. which is like a single shot, and it is by far the weakest weapon in 40k. This shit is like nothing compared to, you know, a bullet the size of a Red Bull can that has a gyro jet and explodes on contact, or mini black holes that are shot into you, or monofilament wires that are shot into you and explode. Yeah, a little laser bolt doesn't really match up to like a bolter or any Eldar tech. Or, you know, Gauss cannons, all that shit. However, there's a very important quote that should be said. The Marine who scoffs at the lasbolt has clearly never walked through a field of 10,000 of them. Because if one's not going to punch through ceramite, 10,000 will. Something's going to hit and something's going to connect. And that's what they bring to the table. Mass firing lines, all shooting down range, something's going to kill. And then we have flak armor. And flak armor is on par with some of our like modern military body armor, as this shit is durable to regular ammunition. Compared to those scary weapons I mentioned, it's like walking into a battlefield with a t-shirt on. Just as effective. It's going to protect you against nothing. But hey, it's better than nothing. Sometimes. Every once in a while, your helmet's going to save you. And that time, you'll be thankful you had it. If we're going to be talking about the Guard, we got to talk about the planets they come from. Each regiment sources their troops from really a single planet. And that planet is going to dictate their culture and like their fighting style and a lot of other stuff. First up on the list, we got Cadia. And Cadia, coming from the now asteroid belt, that is Cadia. The Cadian shock troopers are the poster boys of the Imperial Guard. I am really sorry to anyone trying to get into the other Guard regiments. It's real hard, because everything you got is just Cadians. Same deal with Ultramarines kind of deal. You know, unless you want to spend a stupid amount of money on Forge World stuff, but we'll get to that. Cadians, being the planet that was kind of holding back the Eye of Terror before, you know, popped out, they were from birth trained to be soldiers for the Imperial Guard, drafted right in there. They were the biggest supplier of Guard ever, and they were regimented and disciplined. You were a perfect soldier, you could reload your gun on time, do all of that stuff. There are still a lot of Cadians out and about, because, you know, not all of them were on Cadia when Cadia fell. Although, as every Cadian will say, Cadia fell before the Guard did. Next up, we got my boys, the Valhallan Ice Warriors. Definitely not because I'm a giant Caiaphas Cain fanboy, and I thoroughly respect the Valhallan 597th. But these lads are essentially the meme of, don't invade Russia during the winter. But like, that's their whole shit. They come from an ice world, a bunch of orcs invaded, they wiped out the orcs because the orcs weren't great at fighting in pure sub-zero temperatures like these guys were. And they're really good at fighting in pretty adverse situations, mainly snow. They got a lot of snow fights. That's kind of their whole shtick. But, you know, I love them for it. I like their look a lot. That's also kind of all it is. I think their look's real fun. And next up, we got the Catachan Jungle Warriors, who are, you want to just, you know, play as every 80s action hero? You can. You got your John Rambos, your Predator, like all that stuff. They're all here. They hail from the death world of Catachan, a horrible but luckily fictional place where every single thing there wants to kill you. As such, these guys are tough as fuck, real strong, love their giant special Catachan knives, and are really good at ambush tactics. Full on, like, just, oh, you want to got a little bunch of Chaos Space Marines walking around your jungle, and they start just getting picked off one by one by some giant buff dudes with big knives that just pull them into the woods. Like, fun stuff like that. They love their trip mines, love their ambush tactics, and brute force. They're strong. They actually get increased strength, like in tabletop, so they actually are as strong as a Space Marine. They're not like that in the lore, but that's pretty cool. We also got the Tellarm Desert Raiders, the masters of guerrilla warfare, and just real like rush blitz tactics, as they're a big fan of using their rapid tanks or walkers to rush in, destroy some vital like enemy military like line or like embarkment, and then just dip out of there as fast as possible before they even know what hit them, and then go around and do it again. They also really like mounted combat. They got a lot of like horses and other stuff, and they will just use that a lot in combat. And good luck running from one of them. You will be run down by them on their horses. What do you get when you cross perfect military discipline and perfect firing lines with that classic military, like, ribbon drip? You get the Mordian Iron Guard, where they come from a planet where they are tidally locked, so they essentially have permanent seasonal depression and are all kind of a bunch of pricks. But they're perfectly disciplined, got these perfect firing lines in lockstep, like perfect 1-2 firing rate, and they're different from the Cadians, I promise. They're not just like the Cadians. These cheery fellows are the Vostroyan Firstborns, where kind of their whole deal's right there on the tin. As the planet of Ostroia once denied the Imperium the Imperial Tithe, which is the things you send to the Imperium, like equipment, resources, food, and soldiers. You have to provide a certain number of people to go fight in the army. They said, hey, I know the Horus Heresy's happening, but we need to keep making guns for you. So we need people in the factory. So no. And they regret that real bad for some reason. And so they have this nice planetary rule that the firstborn of all Vostroyan families must go and serve in the Guard. And, I mean, they look real fun. They got these cool little, like, mustaches and these cool, funny hats. But that's kind of it. And lastly, do you like World War I and really unfunny memes? Well, you're going to love the Death Corps of Krieg. They come from the planet of Krieg, which is now a death world, because once they went traitor and kind of rebelled, and the Imperium nuked them for it. And after the whole 500-year nuking, like trench war, planet's now an irradiated hellscape that is impossible to live on unless you're in the underground hive cities. And as apologies, they're now a pretty big guard regiment. And they are fiercely loyal, kind of fucking terrifying. They will just rush you down. They don't really care about their own lives. They don't care about self-preservation. They're just gonna get you. And yeah, they're a big fan of like good old World War I war crimes, like trench shotguns, triangle tip bayonets, and mustard gas. All the classics. And good luck if you want to play them. They're all in Forge World. Have fun spending all that money.
Come on, you imp, you wanna live forever!
First on our list is a personal favorite of mine, Colonel Ironhand Strachan of the Catachan Jungle Fighters. This dude is an absolute fucking badass. As even like the giant injury he received, you know, that whole shoulder and arm and, you know, that entire chunk, he got attacked by a Myral land shark. He got his entire shit like bit off, like one big chunk, and then he proceeded to kill it with his big ass knife. And that's kind of his whole personality. He's a giant fucking badass. He like hates cowardice of all forms. He wants his troops to work hard and fucking kill the enemy, and they'll work extra hard to do it. There's a fun little quote that I really like. It's a little exchange. He's, you know, with a trooper that just got injured. The soldier's kind of calling for medic. He's real wounded, and Strachan just replies like, "Quit your whining, you got another leg." As well, when he was, you know, getting medical treatment for the giant bite, he was still tossing grenades over the wall, just complaining to himself, "Do I gotta do everything my damn self?" As like the medic is actively trying to stop him, like work with him. Strachan also is kind of on the shit list, but respect list of the Administratum themselves, as Strachan and a lot of the Catachan don't like commissars. They don't like these outsiders coming in, talking about like, hey, you gotta do things this way. No, you do it the Catachan way. And as such, he'll take some duties that aren't really allowed of his position as like a commanding officer, where he will like do commissarial, like, you know, actions, punishing the troops and taking on these, like, punishing the crimes of the troops. And puts them in some hot water, as they're like, hey, you shouldn't do that. But Strachan doesn't care, because he doesn't care what some, like, desk jockey thinks about him. And they also know, like, yeah, he's real good, we can't just punish him. He's doing excellent work. He's also got some really fun feats. A personal favorite of mine is when the Catachan tangled with the Night Lords, Chaos Space Marines. The terrifying, like, insane, terroristy Space Marines. Where this Night Lord, Chaos Lord, like, was talking some bullshit, came down to Cadia. As he came down, who is there in the shadows, in the tree? It's Colonel Strachan with, like, a Catachan jungle knot, and he proceeds to garrote the Chaos Lord and strangle him to death. Important to note there, two big things. First, Chaos Space Marine, 7.5 feet tall, genetic superhuman. Second part, Chaos Lord, infused with Chaos Warp energy to be stronger. The man choked him out. That is no small feat. This dude is sick as fuck. Next up, we got Lord Solar Macarius, who is probably one of the best military leaders 40k has ever seen. And he also led one of the most influential Imperial military campaigns since the Emperor was kicking around on the Great Crusade. Which, by the way, the title of Lord Solar is actually the new name for an old title of War Master. But it turns out some people are real uncomfortable with taking the same title as a good old Horus had. You know, you don't want to be conflated with the arch traitor like that. And as well, a big reason I mentioned Solar Macarius right now is because he's the source of, I think, one of the sickest quotes in all of 40k. The meaning of victory is not to merely defeat your enemy, but to destroy him, to completely eradicate him from living memory, to leave no remnant of his endeavors, to crush his achievement and remove all record of his very existence. From that defeat, there is no recovery. That is the meaning of victory. As well, story-wise, do you know about Alexander the Great? Because that's him just in space and wearing his, sci-fi gear. And he led a 7-year campaign, it was the Macarius Crusade, which claimed in 7 years over 1,000 new planets for the Imperium. Ridiculous. And he would have kept going, but they eventually got to the point where the Astronomicon was a bit too dim, so safely going forward kind of was a little too dangerous. And according to the High Lords and the powers that be, this fact that he couldn't continue his fight for the Imperium kind of lowered his will to live, and he caught this sickness from one of the jungle worlds they were on and died peacefully, as he was then given a massive funeral service and a planet known as Macarius, which was later destroyed by Abaddon, made a planetary shrine for the man. However, should be stated, it's not actually how he died, as Lord Solar Macarius got Nurgle's rot, this horrible disease from Nurgle himself that was killing him very quickly. And the Imperium thought, having this guy die from a chaos disease ain't the greatest optics. So they either, while he was sick, a chaos cultist snuck into the ranks and killed him in his sleep or something, or the old assassin cults in the Inquisition kind of did the old pillow over the head, pat business to him. It's kind of up in the air who it is, though knowing the Imperium, it's probably, the assassin. But that about wraps it up. I'm actually not going to go into the rules this week because Guard are getting their codex soon, and anything I talk about, by the time this really comes out and really starts picking up some traction, it's going to be useless knowledge. I'm not going to waste your time or mine. So instead, at some point in the future, I will release a part 2 where I go over the rules in a bit more depth than I would normally. And I don't know if I'm going to release that as a mainline thing or as an extra thing I release partway through the week, because I know not everyone cares about rules, but whatever. I'll figure that out. If you have a preference one way or the other, let me know. If you want to know how Guard play with their codex, I'll get my hands on it as soon as I can, do all that. But anyways, that about wraps it up. So like, subscribe, comment, do all that fun stuff. See ya.